Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. And it's another session to learning. My dear audience, thank you for joining with us and please stay with us till the end. And once again, I'm Nasreen, your host for this program again. My dear lovely audience, I'm proud to be associated with IGP as a global leader. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. And it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. So thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous moment. And please share this webinar in your timeline, Facebook groups, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comments. So give a thumbs up to our program and please subscribe our YouTube channel. So dear audience, again I'm thanking all of you and I believe that you will have many takeaways and payoffs from this webinar. So let's learn together and watch together. Because we believe that power is gained by sharing knowledge, not holding it. So once again, I'm Nasrin from Bangladesh. Welcome you all. Dear audience, every day we have some new participants who join from different places, different time zones, and different nations. So let me give a little concept about IGP. Institution of Global Professionals serves students and community resource providing holistic and social work and education for create a proficient generation. IGP is leading on online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. We make it gadget-able to use for every knowledge seeker to originate personality, more ambitious, make confident to face any circumstance and develop own skills. We entrusted with international recognition. Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institution, provides social work. We believe that it's not effective to grade one's skills just by acquiring formal education. So, we provide effective training and concentration to generate proficient generation all over the world. We organize our webinar, training, offline, online courses, etc. by best and trained speakers and coaches from all over the world to create a best learning platform for all of you. And our mission is to empower people and adults. So we successfully completed our 566 webinar and today I'm presenting webinar number 567 and the topic is the brain in whole brain teaching. So let's start our program with IGP's mantra that is feed your skills. So right now we have so many participants who joined with us. Thank you once again for joining and please don't forget to share, tag and mention your friends in our comment box. So everyone please welcome our honorable speaker from Philippines. Welcome sir, Florin Hiclavo. Welcome sir. How are you sir? How are you sir?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello sir.
I'm so excited for today's program. Mhm.
So sir you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Hello,
you sir.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Mr. Florent P. Clavo, Teacher 3 from Inaway National High School, Schools Division Office of Catanduanes, Philippines. I graduated Master of Arts in Mathematics Education in 2018 and presently working on my dissertation for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and Educational Management. For today's program, I will be presenting to you the following topics. First, the issues and concerns relative to students' academic performance and management in school, the seven common mistakes of teachers. Third, the current trends in the performance of Filipino learners in mathematics education. Fourth, the factors that affect students' academic performance and engagement. Fifth, the adolescent brain. Sixth, the whole brain teaching or the WBT. Seventh, the big seven of WBT. And the last one is the benefits of whole brain teaching according to research. One of the challenges experienced by the teachers in school is the misbehaviors of the students in school. Many good teachers leave the profession because they are tired of worrying with disruptive kids. Teachers and students mostly do not meet because teachers want order while students want freedom. Because of that, most of our brothers and sisters in the profession go home frustrated, disillusioned, and defeated. We feel that we failed our purpose of making our students succeed, knowing that these students who are misbehaving in school are those who need our help. We can't teach students who are not willing to listen. And we know that yelling and scolding them doesn't work because if it is effective, then kids from troubled families where yelling and scolding are common would be exceedingly polite. So, as adults, we, the teachers, need to control our emotions. Schools are becoming dangerous places for teachers and students. According to a report by the National Center for Education Statistics in 2007, there are cases of thefts and violent crimes in schools where children were likely to be the victims. These are there are also incidences of threats among teachers by the students. What does this imply? We must end the culture of violence in school by providing a child friendly environment through teaching strategies that will help them improve their behaviors and at the same time their academic performance. We must employ discipline positively because we know that the behavior of challenging kids cannot be improved by heavier and heavier doses of punishment. Punishing them makes them more rebellious. They really want attention. They want to be part of the classroom environment. Sometimes we just misinterpret them. These are the seven common teaching mistakes we are doing in the classroom. First, we can't control our temper. Because we don't know what else to do, we tend to yell or scold our students. As an adult, we need to control our emotions. Second, we confront challenging students in front of their classmates. Teachers should talk with their challenging students privately. If we confront our challenging students in front of an audience, they might respond back negatively that may scar our authority. Thus, the situation may get worse. The students may also feel embarrassed if they are corrected in front of their peers. So I think it's better to talk with them privately and be empathic about their feelings and on why they misbehave. Through this, students may build trust with the teacher and will open a good rapport between the two. Third, being disorganized. Teachers should be superbly organized. He or she must follow clear and structured routines from the beginning of the lesson in the development of the lesson up to how he or she ends his or her lessons. There must have proper classroom structures that are comfortable to the students and that are conducive to their learning. The teacher should have proper classroom management. Fourth, common mistakes is the half-baked passion. Teachers should fall in love with their profession. Loving the profession means loving our children, understanding their nature, understanding how they feel, how they learn, what they want, and what they need. That means loving the profession that we have. Fifth, teachers are unprepared. Teachers should plan their lessons prior to their instruction. He or she must not go in front of the classroom if he or she has no um, clear plans on how he or she will teach his or her students. Thus, it is necessary that a teacher work harder on their instruction without disturbing their actual teaching. Sixth, treating students as their clones. Students go to school to be taught. They are there to study and learn something from the teacher. Thus, the teacher should not expect that the students are as knowledgeable as they are. They are not their clones. They have different capabilities, talents, and skills, which teachers should enhance so that they can become the person they want to be. Teachers are not participating in professional development. That's the seventh mistake that we are doing. Teachers should engage in continuing professional development so that they can reskill and upskill their teaching competencies. They should involve in training and seminars and attend advanced education. They can attend IGP seminars like this one. They should involve in uh, collaborations and networks with other professionals and also join with the community of practice. Through this, they can benchmark teaching practices that they can adopt in their respective workstations. The Philippine education is facing challenges, issues, and concerns in education that need utmost attention. Based on the results of the different international large-scale assessments, such as the PISA, the TEAMS, and SIA PLM, Filipino learners are lagging in mathematics, science, and reading. This is already expected, according to the Department of Education, because historically Filipino learners performed low in the National Achievement Test. The Philippine government enacted RA 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act, to strengthen the Philippine education curriculum. However, according to a study, grade 8 students were in the beginning level of achievement only during the first conduct of the new K 12 mathematics. Policymakers, education practitioners, researchers, and society at large are researching the factors that influence the mathematics achievement of the students. This is very crucial because the success of the students in achieving mathematics has consequences not only for their personal and professional lives but also for national development. According to Angus et al. In 2009, being uncooperativeness and non-compliance of the students in classroom behavior, uh, the non-compliance of the students in classroom behavioral norms affect their performance in school. Coleman in 1998 considered school violence as a factor that contributes to how students perform in class. Also, Wiseman and Hammer in 2014 also sought the correlation of discipline referrals to the performance of the students. Similarly, Hagomagara in 2015 sought behavioral patterns as an influencing factor in the performance of the students. Minodev in 2016 considered interest as a factor that is correlated to the academic achievement of the students. Thus, Simba, Agak, and Kabuka in 2016 suggested that in order to improve the academic performance of the students, discipline must be enhanced. On the other hand, Andaya considered individual factors and instructional factors as factors that affect students' academic performance. Generally, we can say that the factors that affect a students' performance in school are number one, their behavior or their engagement in the class, and number two, the strategies employed by the teachers. Educators untiringly explore different teaching techniques that will help them in teaching their students. I know you also, you are untiringly explore different teaching techniques that will help us to teach our students. But what our students want, we can only say that our students are also young kids who want to laugh and play. And there comes one of the teaching strategies called whole brain teaching or WBT. It began in 1999 by three teachers from California, Chris Biffle, Jay Vanderfin, and Chris Rextad. It is claimed to be one of the fastest growing education reform movements in America and promises to create a peaceful classroom full of orderly fun activities. But before that, let us first understand our brains, particularly the brains of our students. Okay, so join me in doing this activity. So lace your fingers together and hold your hands in front of your chest like this one. Now, look at your fingers laced together. Your left hand represents the left hemisphere of your brain, and your right hand represents the right hemisphere of your brain. Wiggle your two little fingers. This one. This represents your prefrontal cortex, the uniquely human brain region that controls the reasoning. In this part of our brain, that is our prefrontal cortex. Okay, so that part controls the reasoning, planning, and decision making. Think of the prefrontal cortex as the brain's boss. All right. So next, wiggle now the middle fingers. This part. This represents the motor cortex. This part of our brain. The brain's most reliable memory area. Okay, now wiggle your thumbs. Look how large they are compared to the rest of your fingers. Your thumbs represent the visual cortex at the rear of your brain. So this part is uh, the visual cortex of our brain. They occupy such as the substantial area that some scientists call the brain, the seeing brain. Visual cortex is one of the brain's most trustworthy memory areas. Next, the back of your left hand, all right, so this part represents the outside of your left hemisphere. Towards the front, towards the front of your left hand is the Broca's area, crucial in speaking. Toward the back of your left hand, this part is the Wernicke's area, important in hearing and understanding language. Pull your hands apart, separate your left and right hemisphere. The base of the palm of your both hands represent your limbic system, the center of your emotions. So it is there. In the stem of your brain, that is the limbic system. Interestingly enough, so there is no single area dedicated to memory. The hippocampus that is found in the limbic system, or the the portion where our emotion is the one that only processes the memories. But the data storage will be distributed to where it is originated. Say for example, the data or the information we gather through our eyes will be processed through the hippocampus, but it will be stored in the visual cortex of our brain. So in this part of our brain. Likewise, memorizing, say for example, we are practicing or yes, practicing the choreography of the dance steps. Memorizing the choreography of dance steps uh, we are practicing will only be processed by our hippocampus, but the data will be stored in our visual cortex as we watch the choreography and the motor cortex as we perform the dance steps. It is also important to note to teachers that there are more connections from the limbic system, the emotion part of our brain, to the prefrontal cortex or the rational portion of our brain than vice versa. That is why we tend to be more emotional in making decisions. Our decisions can be controlled by our emotions. All right. Okay. Uh, that is why we tend to be more emotional in making decisions. Our decisions can be controlled by our emotions. We can use this, however, to our advantage. How? We must use the emotions of our students for them to learn. If the students find the lesson interesting and fun, their interest will be captured and sustained. Thus, learning will take place. We can use different teaching experiences and that will involve our learners to learning, such as games, dances, singing songs, etc. The prefrontal cortex, the rational portion of our brain, does not fully mature until our early 20s. So, our students in the elementary and high school may be more emotional than rational. Their reasoning will be more affected by their emotion. Thus, we need to use this to our advantage and make them happy and excited in the lesson so that they can be involved in the teaching and learning experiences. The brain is composed of 100 billion neurons and information processing nerve fibers. Attached to each neuron are what we call the dendrites that grow through repeated activities. Thus, teachers should have prepared repeated practices and reviews of prior knowledge and skills so that students can develop dendrites that can be equated to learning. Repeating sentences over and over can produce dendrites, so teachers should take this to their advantage. Okay. So also, the mirror neurons are scattered through our brains. Our learners tend to mimic our actions, words, and gestures so they can remember information more if this information is associated with actions, words, gestures, facial expressions, etc. As you can see in the presentation, that is the comparison of the brain in WBT and the brain in lectures. In the WBT, all parts of our brain are being stimulated, while in the lecture, only the hippocampus and the Wernicke's area are being stimulated. We must remember that there is no single area dedicated to memory. Thus, the more we stimulate our brain, the more we can store memory necessary for learning. WBT is a combination of class rules, management style, and engaging teaching techniques. It covers everything we need in teaching our students in our classroom. WBT has 7 strategies called Big Seven. These are the class yes, the 5 classroom rules, the teach okay, the scoreboard, the hands and eyes, the switch, and the mirror. Class yes, also called the attention getter, stimulates the prefrontal cortex of our student's brain. Class yes will be used by the teacher in calling the student's attention. The teacher will just say class, and the students will respond yes. So, the teachers may vary his or her voice, and the students will respond mimicking the voice of their teacher. So the teacher must be creative in calling the attention of their students. Say, I will call my students like class. The students will answer yes. Class. The student will answer yes. Something like that. So that is the first strategy of the WBT called the class yes. Okay, and the second one is the 5 classroom rules. 5 classroom rules involve the prefrontal cortex, the Broca's area, the Wernicke's area, the limbic system, the hippocampus, the visual cortex, and the motor cortex. The traditional classroom may have more than 10 rules. We are used to post the classroom rules in our classroom. There are lots, but in the WBT we only have five that cover everything that needs to be followed. In introducing and in repeating the rules, the five classroom rules of WBT should be performed with gestures. Okay, so for rule number one, so I will show you, I will demonstrate to you how to uh, to introduce and repeat the rules, the five classroom rules of WPT. Okay, rule number one: follow directions quickly. The gesture is raise one finger, then swim your hand rapidly through the air. Okay, again, follow me. Rule number one: raise your one finger, then swim your hand rapidly through the air. This rule can be used when the students are tasked to line up, to enter the room, opening books, and other activities that need to be done fastly. So the teacher will just say, rule number one, and the students will recite rule number one, raise your one finger and then swim your hand rapidly through the air. Rule number one, follow directions quickly. That's it. All right. So again, you will use this rule when you want to task your students to to do activities that need to be done fastly. Okay. So for rule number two, raise your hand for permission to speak. So the gesture for that is to raise two fingers. That, okay. Raise two fingers, then make a talking motion with your hand, just like this. All right. Raise two fingers, then make a talking motion with your hand. Rule number two: raise your hand for permission to speak. Okay, so this rule can be used when the students want to speak. Okay, instead of calling the attention of the teacher, such as saying, "Mom, mom, 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 sir, sir, sir," students can only perform the gestures. So instead of doing that, the students can only perform the gestures like this, and then yeah, okay. So that is rule number one: raise your hand for permission to speak. When the teacher caught a student who is talking without permission, the teacher will just say rule number two to call the student's attention. So that is how rule number two is being done. All right, so for rule number three, raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. So the gesture is raise your three fingers, then walk two fingers through the air. Okay, again, the gesture is like this: raise your three fingers, then walk two fingers through the air. So raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. Rule number three: raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. To use this rule, the same procedure as rule number two will be followed. All right. So for rule number, sorry. Okay. So again, for rule number three, raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. The gesture is raise three fingers, then walk two fingers through the air. That means that you are asking permission to leave your seat. All right. So again, as what I've said, you have to use this rule, the same procedure as rule number two will be followed. For rule number four, make smart choices. The gesture is to raise four fingers, then tap your temple three times with one finger. All right. So again, rule number four, make smart choices. To use this rule, the same procedure as for rule number two will be followed. So rule number four, uh, summarized or synthesized all of our rules of our classroom rules. The traditional way, the traditional classroom, we have lots of classroom rules, but using the WBT rule number four, it synthesized all of those with this rule. And rule number five, this is my favorite rule: keep your dear teacher happy. The gesture is raise your five fingers, then use both hands framing your mouth and make a smiley face. All right, so join me. Uh, Rule number five: keep your dear teacher happy. Okay. So rule number four and rule number five synthesize all of the classroom rules we are used in our tradition. We are using in the traditional classrooms. To use the rule for number 5, the same procedure as for rule number 2 will be followed. Meaning to say, if the student is misbehaving or yes, misbehaving in the class, the teacher will just say rule number 5 to remind us the student that he is not uh, misbehaving or he is not listening with the lesson. So the teacher will just say rule number 5, and that the student will be reminded that rule number 5 is to keep your dear teacher happy. Okay. So the third strategy in the WBT or in the whole brain teaching is the teach okay. This is also called the whole brain activator. The prefrontal cortex, the Broca's area, the Wernicke's area, the visual and motor cortex, and the hippocampus are stimulated in this strategy. How Teach OK performed in class. The teacher will teach their students with a chunk of information using gestures. So gestures in the WBT is very important. The facial expression, the change of voice, the varying voice is very important in the WBT. Okay, so the teacher will teach the students with a chunk of information using gestures, and then when the teacher says teach, the students will respond, okay. And then the students will face their seatmates to teach their seatmate with a chunk of information the teacher provided. So at first, the teacher will teach their students, the whole class. The teacher will provide a chunk of information, and the teacher will say, teach. And the students will respond, okay. And then they will face their seatmates, and then they will teach what they have learned, what they have heard from their teacher. So that's it. So the speaker, one of the pair of the students will serve as the speaker and one as the listener. The speaker will teach the listener about the information their teacher provided, following the gestures, the voice, the facial expressions of the teacher. The teacher will assure that the comprehension. The teacher will assure the comprehension by moving around the classroom. The activity will end when the teacher say class. The students will respond, okay. But, uh, the teacher can do the process repeatedly until he or she is contented of the results. Okay, so that is the teach okay. Next is the scoreboard or the motivator. This keys directly the limbic system's emotions and the amygdala, which registers pleasure and pain as students accumulate rewards and penalties. The teacher will give points to the students each time they did well, and they can agree on the yells each time they earn points, such as mighty oh yeah, or other yells they can agree on. Okay, so say for example, the student did well. The teacher will give points for the whole class for the students. The class or the students should first agree on their yell each time they are accumulating or receiving or earning points from their teacher. So one of the example or one of the basic example of the yells is the mighty oh yeah, but you may have also other yells. Okay, so on the other hand, penalties can be earned if the students misbehave or not following the rules. They can agree on a yell such as mighty groan each time they earned penalties. Maybe you can be creative like oh no, something like that. Exactly. Okay, in elementary grades, smiley or frowny may be used. In secondary schools, teacher versus students may be used. So after class, points will be summed up. If the students won, the teacher can give rewards or prizes. Okay, the next strategy is the hands and eyes or the focuser. This strategy is used when the teachers want to give emphasis to a very important information. He or she will say, hands and eyes, and the students will respond, hands and eyes, and fold their hands and stare at the teacher intensely. Okay, so when the students did this strategy successfully, the teacher could give points in the scoreboard and penalties if otherwise. This strategy can be followed by Teach OK so that the students can teach their seatmate with the information they acquired from the teacher. Okay, so that is hands and eyes. The sixth strategy is the switch or the involver. Broca's area and Wernicke's area are stimulated in this strategy. This strategy is other form of teach okay. The speaker in the teach okay will be now becomes the listener. That is why we call this as switch. And the listener will now become the speaker. They will switch roles and follow the same rule as the teach okay. So the last strategy is the mirror or the class unifier. It activates the visual and motor cortex as well as the mirror neurons in other brain areas necessary for learning. So when the teacher says mirror, the students will respond mirror. Then the students will mirror the gestures of the teachers while teaching. So say the teacher is dancing, the student will also mirror the actions or the gestures or the dances of their teacher. These are the following great laws of WBT. First, the longer we talk, the more students we lose. That's why in the Teach OK, we only give chunks of information that should long for only 30 seconds to 1 minute. The second law is you cannot manage student behavior if you cannot manage your own behavior. That is why it is necessary for teachers to control his temper each time there are misbehaviors of students. Using the five classroom rules and scoreboard, the teacher can implement discipline that is not hostile and punishable, but playful and fun. Love your profession. In all and everything, we can do the best thing if we love doing it. So we need to love our profession so we can give our best in it. Fourth, gain students' attention. The WBT strategies are full of exciting, fun, and playful activities that can gain students' attention. Fifth, cooperative learning for learning. The Teach OK, the scoreboard, the switch, and the other WBT strategies show cooperation between and among students. That shows cooperative learning. The sixth, motivate your class to work hard. Reward students' improvement. The scoreboard is effective way of rewarding students of their outstanding performances in class. Seventh, engage your students in learning. All of the strategies in WBT help students to become engaged in their learning. Eighth, open-ended questions lead to HOTS or higher order thinking skills. So each time a teacher provided chunks of information in Teach OK or in Switch, he must check his students' comprehension by asking open-ended questions. The WBT make active engagement and learning among students. It has also repetitive practices that promotes collaborative rehearsal. As we mentioned, all brain areas are stimulated in the WBT. Thus, students undergo simultaneous multisensory learning. And since there is no single area dedicated to memory, and in WBT, all brain areas are stimulated, WBT can create pathways to long-term storage. Okay, as you can see also, and as you can see in the illustration, people generally remember uh, learning activities 10% of what they read, 20% of what they heard, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear, 70% of what they say and write, and 90% of what they do. So all of the activities in the whole brain teaching uh, let our students engage or involve in in their learning. So we can say that 90% of the learning activities, 90% of what they learn from the lesson is came from the learning activities that they have, because 90% of what they do is uh, is retained in our uh, memory if we use activities that will let our that will let our students uh, engage in learning. Okay, what the researchers are saying about the WBT? So in 2009, Palasigi conducted a study that seek ways to create a more engaged learning environment for the students. That study was conducted in the fifth graders of an elementary school. He used observation tally sheet in his research, frequency of disengagements of the students during pre and post observations compared to determine the effect of WBT. The results showed that there was a 50% decrease in student negative behaviors from the pre-observation to the post-observation. The conclusion is that the negative behaviors observed decreased tremendously as they became more engaged in the learning process brought by the WBT methods. In 2009, Kelso also conducted a study to observe how students can positively be affected by the strategies and methods of WBT. The reading class of a fifth grade classroom are the subject of the study conducted by Kelso. Uh, Student survey, anecdotal records, videotaping, and journal were used in this research. The study conducted by Kelso concluded that the strategies of WBT have improved student response and have also made it more engaging for students. Positive student response increased and the student reaction time decreased, creating maximized instructional time. In 2010, Jute and Molly Torres also conducted a study to determine the impact of WBT on classroom environment in regards of teachers' presence, attitude, and confidence in students' behavior. This study was conducted to the third, fourth, and sixth grade. They used the student surveys, video recordings, student participation charts, systematic observations, and reflection journals in this study. And they concluded that the WBT makes lessons more interesting, interactive, and attention sustaining, which causes students to behave more appropriately in the classroom setting. WBT has positive impact on teachers' presence, attitude, and confidence, and on the students' behavior as well. Paneso et al. Also conducted a study in 2012 to observe the characteristics of the WBT in the teaching process of English as a foreign language. The study was conducted in the third graders in a public school in Pereira. The study concluded that the results from this research were considered positive in terms of behavior. Karsati and Prakasha also conducted a study in 2017 and concluded that WBT has a positive influence on the academic achievement of students because it brought huge difference in the way students remember and retain information. Students are more engaged and their critical thinking is increased and are actively participating inside the classrooms. Bridges also conducted a study in 2019 to determine the effect of WBT in students' attitude to mathematics and academic performance. The study was conducted to second grade mathematics class and concluded that the WBT has positive change on students' attitudes about and achievement in mathematics. Calvario and Torrio in 2016 also conducted a study in the Philippines to determine the effect of the use of WBT on students' gain and motivation. They used the pre-test and post-test design without control group to determine the learning gains. The subject of the study are the grade 10 science students of the Philippine Normal University Laboratory School. The study concluded that the results revealed that the students have an average learning gain of 20%, and the motivation questionnaire gauged the motivation results. Sontiliano in 2018 also conducted a study to determine the impact of whole brain teaching on academic performance in algebra. The subject of the study are the grade 8 students in algebra at General Emilio Aguinaldo National High School in the Philippines. They She used pre-test, post-test quasi-experimental research method with control group using matched subject design to uh, to make conclusion in the study. The conclusion is that the students' academic performance increased significantly after subjecting them to WBT techniques and conventional teaching techniques. However, the results of the post-test comparison of both groups showed that there was a statistically significant difference between the academic performances of the students in favor of the WBT. Okay, I also conducted a study, a study in our school titled Effects of Whole Brain Teaching on the Academic Performance and Engagement in Mathematics of Grade 8 Students at Mangaway National High School, San Andres, Catanduanes. I conducted this study in 2018. So the objective of my study is to determine the effects of WBT on the academic performance of grade 8 students of Mangaway National High School for the school year 2017-2018 in mathematics, specifically in geometry, and at the same time to test its effectiveness on the students' engagement. The subject of the study are the grade 8 students of our school, Mangaway National High School, having mathematics as one of their subjects. Here's the conceptual framework. I want to know if the methods of teaching, the whole brain teaching, and the curriculum guide suggested method of teaching can affect the mean performance of students in mathematics and the level of students' engagement in mathematics. I use them to find the performance of the students in mathematics. Formative and summative tests were employed, while in finding or the level of students' engagement in mathematics, I used the behavior tally sheet. The results showed that the mean performance of section X, the one uh, that uses the WBT, was 88.17% or very satisfactory, while section Y's, the the class that uses the conventional way of teaching, is 76.63% or fairly satisfactory. The result also showed that there was a significant difference between the mean performance in the formative test of the students in mathematics, specifically in geometry, using the whole brain teaching method and curriculum guide suggested method of teaching. Third, the mean performance of section X, the WBT class, in the 50-item summative test was 80% or satisfactory, while section Y's mean performance in the summative test was 74% or did not meet expectation. The section Y, the class, uh, taught using the conventional way of teaching, uh, did not meet expectation in the performance in the summative test. The fourth result is that the Z statistics suggest that there is a significant difference between the mean performance of the students in summative tests in mathematics, specifically in geometry, taught using the WBT and curriculum guide suggested activities. Section X, the WBT class, mean engaging behavior was 85.38 or engaged, while section Y, mean engaging behavior was only 32.38 or less engaged. there was a significant difference between the level of engagement of the students in mathematics taught using the whole brain teaching method and the curriculum guide suggested method of teaching. The conclusion of the study I conducted about WBT in our school: WBT class mean performance in the formative test was very satisfactory, while the others' mean performance in the formative tests was fairly satisfactory. There was a significant difference between the mean performance of the students. Formative tests in mathematics, specifically in geometry, taught using the WBT and curriculum guide suggested activities in favor of the WBT class. WBT class mean performance was satisfactory, while the others' mean performance in the summative test did not meet expectations. So there was a significant difference between the mean performance in summative tests of the students in mathematics, specifically in geometry, using the whole brain teaching and curriculum guide suggested method of teaching in favor of the WBT strategies. Fifth, WBT class was engaged, while the other class was less engaged. And the sixth one, there was a significant difference between the level of students' engagement in mathematics, specifically in geometry, using whole brain teaching method and curriculum guide suggested method of teaching in favor of WBT. So that I recommend that the use of WBT methods in teaching mathematics, specifically in geometry, because it has been proven to be useful in improving formative and summative test results and enhancing the level of engagement of the students. To the future researchers, it also recommended to have an analysis of effectiveness of WBT in other subject areas and other levels to determine the particular types of lessons in mathematics WBT would be most applicable, and to have an analysis of the relationship of academic performance with the level of engagement. Also, in 2019, I also conducted an action research in my grade 9 class, in our school. So, the action research I conducted was titled Effects of Whole Brain Teaching and Academic Performance of Grade 9 Students in Trigonometry. So the objective of the action research is to determine the impact of WBT on academic performance of the students in mathematics, specifically in trigonometry. So the subject of the study are the grade 9 students at Maingaway National High School, fourth quarter of the school year 2019 to 2020. So this action research was conducted before the pandemic. So the methods I employed in the action research, the lesson plans were developed. I developed a lesson plans for the experimental group using the WBT methods, while on the control group, I used the ready-made daily lesson plan for grade 9 mathematics that was provided by the regional office of the Department of Education here in the Philippines. Pre-test was administered to both groups to determine their ability level. The scores were converted into percentage. The percentage of each group were computed. And after the treatment, the researcher administered a post-test using the same instrument and pointing scheme like that of the pre-test. The score of each student in the test was converted in simple percentage, and these were summed up, and the mean percentages were computed for each of the two groups. So the results and the conclusions of the study are: first, the academic performance of the students in the pre-test administered before the lesson taught using the WBT and conventional teaching techniques are 31.29% and 30.84% respectively. So there is no significant difference between the pre-test academic performances of the two groups, which means that the groups are comparable for the study. Third, the academic performance in the post-test of WBT class is 46.77%, which is higher than the other class, which is with academic performance of 37.81%. The learning gain of WBT class is higher with an increase of 15.48% compared to the other class with an increase of only 6.52%. There is a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test academic performance taught using WBT and conventional teaching technique. There is a significant difference between the post-test academic performance of the students taught using the WBT and conventional teaching technique in favor to WBT. So with that, I recommend to administer pretest, to use WBT, and properly plan our lessons before we start our lesson. So before I end my presentation, let me uh, leave this food for thoughts. The mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. That is from Idowu Koyinikan. All right. So all of the teaching strategies of the WBT has uh, engaged our requires our students to engage and be part of the uh, learning activities. So their minds, their brains are being stimulated. So learning will be achieved. Also, the behaviors can be addressed because the activities are fun, the activities are exciting, the activities are full of laughter and games that that will help us teachers to um, to employ discipline in a positive way. So with that, thank you to all of you, to everyone who are watching live through Facebook and through YouTube. Thank you so much to all of you guys. Also, thank you to my co-teachers at Mengaway National High School, my school principal. Thank you so much. Also, thank you to my batchmates and friends who are watching live through Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, IGP, for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing your very informative presentation with our participants. And we will come back with you in our Q&A session after the quiz competition session. So please stay with us. Thank you, sir.
Yes, and thank you.
So, my dear lovely audience, get ready for our next session, that is quiz competition. So, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comment box. So, after this short video, we will start our quiz competition. Hello, everyone, once again in our quiz competition. Please join in our quiz session, and you can see the joining link in our comment box, or also you can browse Chrome and type www.slido.com and code is IGP. And please give your full name because that will be printed in certificate. And right now we have 27 participants who joined with us. So thank you for joining. Once again, I'm requesting to everyone, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comments. We have 33 participants who joined with us. Thank you for joining, and I would like to request everyone, please share this in your timeline and mention your friends in the comment box. After the quiz competition session, we will go for our Q&A session with our honorable speakers. So, dear knowledge seeker, get ready for this next session and get ready your question to ask our speaker. So, right now we have still 37 participants. We have Jiggy Dorsey, Jordan Alaya, we have Joseph Besser, we have Jacqueline Bessa, Karen Jen, Nancy Barotil, Ricky R. Colima, Ashok Kumar Pukari, we have Nori Pillai and Rishti, Gloria, we have Pumla, Christina Peter Rosario, Kim Baron, Alvina, Jenny Lee, Veneranda, Jenny Lee Borsa, we have Alan, Emily, Gloria, Sonam, Ashok Kumar Adhikari, not even so many participants who have joined with us. And please, everyone, mention your friends in the comments. Still, we are waiting for new participants, and we will start it within a few minutes. Okay, let's get ready. Let's start it. So the first question is, whole brain teaching is classroom management or talking? So let's see the right answer. And the right answer is option number one, that is classroom management. And 37% of the participants answer correctly. Okay, let's see the leader. Okay, we have Joy D. Likatan on first position in our leaderboard, following Joseph Lesser, following Napoleon Butersalino. We have Charlene Calazumaguchi and Jerome B. Arafat. So congratulations to our top 5 winners. Let's see the next question. What are the two options for introducing content in whole brain teaching? Mirror words, hands and eyes. Class, yes, yes. Okay, the right answer is option number one, and that is mirror words, hands and eyes. And 87% of the participants chose the right answer. In our leaderboard, we have Charlie Kazumaguchi on first position, following Joy Delicatoni, following Zarambi Arvalo. We have Napoleon Vitorsolino and Evelyn Haven Perry. So congratulations to you all. Moving to next question. What is the first step in a whole brain lesson? Attention getter, plus plus, or yes, yes, or the mirror words? Slide will show us the right answer. Okay, the right answer is attention getter plus plus oh yes. And 76% of the participants answer correctly. We had Jeremy Arabella on first position in our leaderboard, following Napoleon Peter Salino, following Christina Peter Rosario, we have Gemma Benumada, and Evelyn Perry. So moving to our question number 4. What should be included in the dietary teaching for a PT diagnosed with atherosclerosis? Limit sodium intake to 5 g per day or increase daily intake of vegetables, fruits, and grains. So the right answer is option number 2. That is increase daily intake of vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. And 82% of our participants choose the right answer. We have Napoleon Petersolino on first position in the leaderboard, following Christina Vidal Rosario, following Nancy Borotil, then we have Jeffrey Dorsey and Jerome B. Adler. So congratulations to all of you. Moving to next question. In Canada, people decorate their gardens with Christmas trees or decorate their trees and open gifts on Christmas Day. Okay, the correct answer is option number 2, that is decorate their trees and open gifts on Christmas Day. And 61% of the participants get the right answer. Again, we have Napoleon Petersolino placed on first position, following Nancy Baradil, following Jeremy Arvin, following Ashok Kumar Adhikari, and Karnala Village. So, congratulations. Next question. What should the nurse include in the DRC teaching for a PT newly diagnosed with heart failure? Is this medication teaching or weekly reads? Right answer is option number 1. And 86% majority of the participants answered. Okay, again, we have Napoleon Petersolino on first position in our leaderboard, following Nancy Barotin, following Jerome Biargallo, then we have Ashok Kumar Adhikari and Jamaline Vidya. Let's see the next question. Calcium is found in dairy products or in canned. Calcium is found in dairy products or in canned. Okay, the right answer is option number 1. Dairy products, and 100% of our participants answering correctly. Okay, we have Napoleon Petersolino on first position in our leaderboard, following Nancy Barotin, following Jeremy Arvalo. We have Jameline Rivera and Shukumar Adhikari. And congratulations, everyone. Moving to the next question, question number 8. What is whole part 4? Looking at the whole scale or stroke before breaking it are the magic trick where you cut someone up. Right answer is option number one. And 100% of the participants answered correctly. Okay, still now we have Napoleon Vitorsolino on first position in our leaderboard, following Nancy Barotel. We have Jeremy Arvalo, then we have Jamaline Rivera, we have Ashok Kumar Adhikari. So again, congratulations all of you. Moving to our next question, question number 9. What is the first rule in whole brain teaching? Follow direction quickly or keep your dear teacher happy. So the option number one is correct answer, and 89% of our participants answered correctly. We have still Napoleon Vitorsolino leading the first position in our leaderboard, following Jerome B. Arvalo. We have Nancy Barotel, we have Jamaline Rivera, and Joy De Likita. So the last question is question number 10. Let's see. Most people only use 10% of their brain power. Is this myth or fact? So the right answer is option number one. And 76% of the participants choose the correct answer. So let's see the surprise name. Okay, we have Napoleon Vitorsolino on first position in the leaderboard. And then we have Jamaline Rivera placed second. We have Nancy Barote placed third. We have Ashok Kumar Adhikari placed fourth. Vicky R. Kalima placed fifth. Okay, we have Gloria placed sixth. Veneranda Jordan placed seventh. Jerome B. Arvolo placed 8, Charlene Calzamaguchi placed 9, and Jordan Olaya placed 10. So congratulations to our top 10 winners. Everyone give a virtual clap for our winners. So dear winners, you will get your certificate from our Facebook official page. So we'll post it after the program. It will be within 15 minutes or after 15 minutes. So don't miss it to collect it, and don't forget to celebrate with us. So right now, get ready for our next session, that is QA session with our honorable speaker. So dear knowledge seeker, get ready with your question to ask. So after this short video, we will start it. Okay, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friend in our comment box. Once again, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So this is our Q&A session, and our participants going to ask questions. So, dear participants, ask your question in our comment box, and we are waiting for your question. Okay, how to get my certificate? Okay, because of some technical problems, still our tech team is try to resolve the problem in our website. So after the resolves, we will provide all the certificate international webinar code to all of you in social site. So you have to wait. Okay, our first question from Evelyn Medberry. Good afternoon, sir. What instrument did you use in measuring the learner's engagement, and what statistical tool did you use? Thank you.
Okay. Uh, all right. So I adopted to measure the learner's engagement. I I adopted the instrument used by Palasivi. He's one of the researcher that look into the effect of WBT in engagement. So I adopted the tool used by Palasivi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And still, we're waiting for our next question, dear ideal lovely audience. Please ask your question in our comment box, and we are waiting for you. Dear knowledge seeker, we are still waiting for your question. So give your question to our comment box. Okay, our next question from Jacqueline Dessa. How do you teach the whole brain rule? Thank you, sir.
Um, what does it mean with the whole brain rule? I think if whole brain teaching, these are we have the seven, the big seven. So, uh, meaning you are going to integrate all of those seven uh, activities or strategies in your daily lessons. If you, what do you mean by the rule? If you are talking about the five classroom rules, you have first you have to introduce the five classroom rules at the start of your class, and then every day you're going to repeat that classroom rules for your students to remember the rules. So then you are going to to check if the rules are being followed. So the classroom rules and the scoreboard are brothers. So if they misbehave during class, you can give points for you, the teacher, if you are employing the teacher versus student scoreboard. But if the students are performing well in their learning, you may give points to the uh, to the student. So whoever won, the teacher or the student, you can give reward to the student if they won the scoreboard. So the five classroom rules and the the scoreboard are brothers. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, again we have a question from Ma'am Jacqueline Mesa. Why is whole brain teaching effective, sir?
Mm. So based from the presentation I provided, there are lots of researches that shows that the whole brain teaching is effective. Number one, to the behavior of the students, and the second one in their academic performance. So I think and I believe that the whole brain teaching is effective because there are already some researches that support that whole brain teaching is effective. And I personally, I also conducted two researches, one in the grade 8 learners, and the second one was in 2019 for the grade 9 learners, and I've proven it effective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with our participants, and thank you for your approach. How you answered, I think they will get benefited. So thank you once again, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, IGP.
And you wanna share any words for our participants, sir? Do you wanna say any words to our participants?
Ah, ma'am?
Do you wanna say any words for our participants, sir?
Okay. So thank you very much to all the participants. Thank you for being there at the start of the program until the end of this program. Also, thank you to my friends, to my co-teachers, and my batchmates who are there watching. Of course, my family, thank you so much. And of course, thank you so much for the the opportunity of given me, the Institute of Global Professionals. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day, sir. So, my dear lovely audience, thank you for watching and thank you for staying with us till the end. And today we will not able to provide our international webinar code, and after the results of our website problem, we will provide all the webinar code. So thank you once again for your participations in our all the session, and thank you for sharing, mentioning your friends, and of course your attachment encourages us. That's why this is the webinar is done beautifully, successfully. So thank you again, and I'm inviting all of you to our next webinar in tonight. And don't forget and don't miss it. And also invite your friends in our webinar. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy wherever you are. You should take care of yourself first. So till then, have a great day to all of you. I'm Nasrin signing off right now.